Hello YouTube solar fans, this is Mo Solar Fan. Just want to do a coming out video on my new solar project that I put together this summer. This is a ground mount 480 watt amorphous solar panel system. Each panel is 40 watts rated. However, they do push out 60 volts open circuit, so this takes up a lot of space, but it does provide some really good wattage. Come over closer and show you some of the construction. I don't know how the light's gonna work here, but going down through here, I have the wires coming from the house through the conduit up to this switch box, which is just, you reach in and pull that out to disconnect everything. The wires come out here, a positive and negative. One goes down each side, and then a negative and positive from each panel. And they tie in all the way down on both sides. Negative on the bottom, positive on top. Construction's all treated lumber. The posts are set in concrete. It's 2x8s and 2x4 construction, and held down with lag bolts and fender washers. And my little buddy up there keeps the little bitty birds from sitting on top and doing their thing all over my solar panels. So, two of the panels were cracked when I purchased them, and I tried to repair them with some epoxy type resin, as you may be able to see right here. However, this morning when I was cleaning them, I noticed this one has already developed another crack going along here. I don't know if it shows in the camera or not. And we go down to the ground here. I have a ground wire coming out of this box. It's a number 8 gauge. And it comes down to here, and there is a 8-foot grounding rod driven in, and she's clamped off. I still have yet to do any type of interconnect grounding between the panels, but that's something on my to-do list. From here, follow it up, it goes up to the house, up through the elbow and into the basement, where I'll take you now, and you see the rest of the system. Okay, we're in the basement now. My glasses have changed back from being out in the sunlight, and I can see again. And my wires come into the basement here and come down, and they go into this box right here first. This is just a box that I got off of eBay to hold these panel meters. And let me see if I can get in here close enough for you to read the voltage. And we're looking at right about 50 volts and about 6.5 amps or so. And I'll show you what I got inside the box. There's nothing really major. Just my wire comes in, it goes through a 10 amp fuse there, and comes down, goes across this shunt, which gives me my amp gauge here, and my voltage is tied in there also. Nothing spectacular in there. My wires come down and out of that and come up into a BZ Products MPPT 500 charge controller. And I'm showing off of my panel voltage here 6.97 amps coming in from my panels. Now the beauty of this little piece of equipment here is, since I have all this extra voltage over here that doesn't help me in battery amperage, this controller converts that additional voltage into amperage. And as you can see, I've got 6.97 amps coming in. Switch that, I've got to my battery amperage. I've got 24.5 amps going to my batteries. Out of that, I have number 8 gauge wires. This is the positive running through a 40 amp fuse, and the negative, and they come down and they go into my battery box. Let me get my latches undone here. Battery box. This is my negative. My negative coming in to charge. Positive is at the opposite end of the bank. I have down in the bottom here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, I have 2 little biscuit fans that run off of the 12 volts. And they're operated by this switch right here to vent my gases out of my battery box, excuse me. In the box I have 6 115 amp hour automotive / marine deep cycle batteries. And that hole in the box there is the vent. Goes to this plastic piping that's a 2-inch and goes up and out, and it's vented outside. All my battery cables, interconnections are 2 gauge automotive battery cables. All the batteries are hooked in parallel, so it's still a 12 volt system. I also have 2 gauge coming off of either end out of the box that go up to feed this power inverter here. It's a 1800 watt. It says Thermo King on it. It's identical to the Xantrex XM 1800. It is a modified sine wave inverter. Right now my draw, I'm running a fan and an upright freezer, and it is 23 amps being drawn off of the batteries, and my battery voltage is 13.2 volts. Now, I was drawing 23 amps off of the batteries, but I'm putting 24.5 or so back in, so we are maintaining. Now, when my freezer kicks off, I will then again charge the batteries back, and the little float light LED will come on. I just have an extension cord here running down. That's not an extension cord, it's a power strip I've got running to the other side of the room here. This is still in the testing stages, so I don't have any anything permanently hooked to it that I can't unhook. I'm checking it daily and monitoring it on my time off to see what its capabilities are. We're coming into the winter months here, and the days are getting shorter. The amount of solar collection time is also shorter, so interested to see how this performs over the winter. And something I forgot coming out of the battery box, going to the inverter, I have a 150 amp circuit breaker that will trip if I pull more than 150 amps or 1800 watts out of the inverter. All of my components that put off or generate heat, they're mounted to wood. However, I do have plenty of airflow behind them. This inverter has little fans on the underneath side and also one on the end back here. So I wanted to make sure there's plenty of airflow around that. And this is what I've been doing this summer. So I finally got it up and running, and now we're in the testing phases. Okay, my freezer just kicked off and my battery's charged back up to the float voltage. So my charge controller is just kind of throttling back. My voltage went up. I'm almost 60 volts now. My amps are just kind of jumping around. If we look over here to this little meter, my voltage from my batteries is 13.9, and my draw on them with just the fan running is 9 amps. So its charge controller's putting in a little over 9 amps, just enough to keep things topped off. This solar setup that I have roughly $2,000 invested into it. I did purchase this charge controller used from a fellow YouTube video producer. His YouTube channel is Tony Tech Solar, and I saw this mounted on his wall not being used, contacted him, and he cut me a deal on it. I got it a little less than wholesale, or a little less than retail, but he picked up the shipping and insurance and the PayPal transaction fee. So when I first read the reviews on these that I've seen, most everyone said they were less than desirable, but so far what I'm seeing is they work pretty darn good. I'm so far pleased with it. Also, the power inverter, to purchase one of these with the Xantrax name on it new, will run you $350. I managed to get a hold of this one out of an eBay auction for $80 shipped to my house. So if you're on a budget, there are ways to cut corners. You just have to get out there and beat the bushes and find them.